today's episode of Inner City Mindset Podcast, we have CJ Lauriello. CJ is one of the top trainers in New York City. He's made a really big impact on a lot of inner city youth here in New York, and he trains a really wide spectrum of athletes and people in the New York City area. CJ, I know you train students, student athletes. You also train people with disabilities and like the general mom and dad. Tell us more about your business, CJ Turn to Fitness, and this process of kind of like getting us up and going.
Well, CJ Turn to Fitness is an outlet for the community. I have athletes in all sports: baseball, basketball, football, hockey, soccer, lacrosse. I have clientele with autism. I have general population clients, doctors, moms, dads, lawyers, you name it. I'm here to serve my community, like I said, and just get the best out of everybody.
For sure. That's awesome, man. I kind of wanted to touch on your early life and background, growing up in Miami. Tell us about how tough it was for you and your family growing up in such a tough city like Miami, man.
I mean, well, thankfully my mom did a good job, putting me in good schools and keeping me in an environment where I was able to thrive. Miami baseball was tough. It was fun. It was competitive. Definitely made me the man I am today. Mm-hmm. But it was, it was a great experience, a great journey for me, myself, to be doing what I'm doing right now. It's, in New York City, impacting the youth. Sure. It gave me a great background of resilience, hard work, dedication. Everything you wanted to get out of a sport, I was able to learn back home in Miami.
That's awesome. Now, obviously, you had great mentors around you and people that are really pushing you. So tell me, what type of impact guys like, Robert Andino and, having people, in your corner, like your coaches over at Miami Dade, what type of impact they make on your personal life, both on and off the field?
Those guys, Robert Andino, former big leaguer, I was blessed to be around him pretty much my entire life, so I had a good role model to follow. He did things the right way, on and off the field. I was able to follow that, follow his footsteps. My coaches had tremendous impact in my life. They, like I said, they led by examples. They were tremendous leaders, always pushed me to, be the best I could be, day in, day out. They taught me my work ethic, my dedication, and definitely made me the man I am today.
For sure, and obviously, you was able to take all of that with you to Southridge, and obviously, in Miami, Southridge was probably one of the top programs right out there.
Well, so back in the day, we were a powerhouse. They're building up right now. They're getting back on the map. But playing at Miami Southridge was a great experience. Following Southridge, I played for Miami Dade for Steve Hurts, and after I played for Steve Hurts, I played for Marvell Melendez at Bethune-Cookman University. And awesome. All those guys were phenomenal coaches, and like I said, great winning programs. Came from tradition to winning, and I was expected to do the same thing.
That's awesome, man. Obviously, being a 13, 14-year-old kid, what do you think earning a college scholarship, what do you think that meant for you and your family?
It's a way out. It's how we were brought up. Being an athlete was the way to succeed. It's a way to get out of our neighborhoods. So we try to do everything the right way as far as education. We got to get our grades up. If we didn't execute, in the classroom, we were going to perform poorly on the field. So that was one thing we took hand in hand, and our coaches, drilled in us. If you want to play at these high institutions, you have to make sure you're a complete student athlete. So we had to make sure we had good grades, take care of stuff in the books, and we were going to be successful athletes on the field.
Awesome. And I've noticed, CJ, that sometimes for inner city athletes, the recruiting process could be very difficult, maybe due to lack of resources, lack of mentoring, right? Tell me about the recruiting process for you down in Miami at the time.
Well, I was overlooked. My numbers were great, but I was smaller in stature. I always got overlooked because of my size. But one thing that followed me was winning everywhere I went. So I was kind of like the character of the team all the time. I was always brought that energy, and I always heard my entire career 70% CJ was 100% anywhere else. So
for sure.
Yeah, that's pretty much where
where
everything's at in.
Okay, and I know that your freshman year, You was at Frank Phillips in Texas, right?
Yeah, I was at Frank Phillips in Texas.
You was All-American there, right? Then you went over to Miami Dade, right? And then you ended up transferring to Bethune-Cookman in 09 and 2010. Tell me about that process, and tell me about each stage and what it did to you as a personal.
So Frank Phillips, like I said, I didn't get that opportunity I wanted out of high school, so I ended up going to junior college, where I could go somewhere and play.
Gotcha. So you wasn't like a 4-year guy right away. You felt like you was
No, I had opportunities to go 4 years. Division twos were interested in me out of high school. Lower tier D1s. I did pull some interest, but coaches were honest with me, and it wasn't going to be a situation where I could go in and play right away. So I had to get bigger, faster, stronger. So I can excel at the next level. And thankfully, Frank Phillips gave me an opportunity for myself and my cousin.
Nope.
So that was one of the deciding factors, me going out there. So I went out there my freshman year, had a great freshman year, was All-American there. And then my sophomore year, my coaches from Miami Dade were actually my summer coaches from when I was 16.
Oh, wow. Okay.
They saw, I had a great freshman year and convinced me to go back home, and the rest was history. I went back home to Miami Dade, worked really hard. It was, a personal thing for me, to play for my city college, and have an impact back home. Led the country in hitting my sophomore year, hit 460.
Nice.
I was one of the top JUCO recruits coming out, my sophomore year. Ended up getting a Division I opportunity at Bethune-Cookman by Marvel Melendez, and I was first team All-MEAC, tournament MVP.
Absolutely.
Hit 404 my junior year, and then my senior year, I was, coming in top guy in the MEAC, and I tore my shoulder, and that's what put me on the journey I'm at today, as far as training and developing athletes.
Got you. Yeah, CJ was definitely a dog. I got the stats right here. You were 403 your junior year, 73 hits, 36 RBIs, 19 W's, first team All-Conference, right? Tournament MVP, and then your senior, you killed it as well. You had 370 your senior year, and I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about your first year at Miami Dade. Obviously, you killed it in the fall, right? But then when it came to, getting your physical, you couldn't pass the physical because you tore
my
labor,
shoulder
right?
my sophomore year. After my freshman year, I tore my labor. So going into my sophomore year, I didn't get cleared medically, so I had to sit back and watch guys, perform and take advantage of opportunities, that I had ahead of me. Those guys were All-American, so I had to reinvent my game a little bit. I had to work harder, get faster, get stronger. I learned how to play the outfield, and that's what happened. I wasn't going to give up on my team. That was something, I wanted to be a part of. Guys saw me as a leader. Obviously I'm a hometown kid. Have a great relationship with my coaches, so they expected a lot out of me. So I wasn't trying to fold. So my aspect was how could I make an impact for my team, and the best lineup for the team was for me to learn to play, the outfield. I started off the season as a DH.
Awesome.
I hit 3-4 every day, and then once I got the opportunity to play the outfield, didn't look back.
Absolutely, and I'm sure it helped you become an even better teammate, right? Like,
oh yeah.
When you're the man and you playing every day,
like I hated to lose. Being honest, I didn't like to lose. Just I could go 0 for 4, we get the dub. I was cool with that.
Absolutely.
Because I could find a way to get an impact, or like I said, just bring that energy to the team, coach guys up where we could have an impact and get that W.
For sure. Obviously, earlier you mentioned that you were definitely a junior college guy, out of high school.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big transition, being 17, 18 years old, facing grown men, 20, 21 years old. Those guys are bigger, faster, stronger, more mentally mature.
Right.
Going to Miami Dade and playing with high caliber players got me ready for that next level.
For sure.
1,000%.
That's awesome, man. What piece of advice, do you have for those young guys that are seniors in high school who might potentially have to redshirt, and sit out for a few years?
Guys, don't stop working. Your time is your timing. Like I said, I wasn't overly recruited, coming out of high school. I was a JUCO guy. I was comfortable with that. My coaches were honest and told me great feedback on what I needed to work on to be successful. So I put myself in that opportunity to, open up those doors. Like I said, trust your process, trust your timing. Just because it's happening for everybody else doesn't mean it should be happening for you at that time. But you can't stop working. The minute you stop working and get complacent, this game's really going to pass you by. So you always got to be ready for when that opportunity comes so you can, bust through that door and make an impact.
Absolutely. After that sophomore season, I know that your college coach at Miami Dade, Steve Hertz, he kind of pulled you into his office and told you that, obviously a lot of All-Americans coming back and, playing time will be very limited. And he even offered to potentially, help you find different schools, but you wasn't with it, right? Like,
yeah, like I said, it was more personal for me, playing for my hometown, playing for my coaches. I just had a sense of pride where, I wasn't ready to fail.
Mm-hmm. And you ended up, killing it that fall, and he ended up offering you a full scholarship, right? So that only shows you that, like, sometimes a coach could pull you into his office, and sometimes he might just be testing you, right? To see if you're gonna fall, see if you're gonna transfer.
He tested me, but like I said, like great coaches know how to get the best out of their players, and he tested me the right way where I was able to, thrive.
Absolutely. I wanted to touch on adversity, right? It's something that we're all gonna face at some point in our lives, and I feel like a lot of inner city athletes kind of struggle with that, especially the first few semesters in college. After you tore your shoulder, you stated that some people started to distance themselves from you. Like, when you're playing well and you're killing it, everybody loves you, right?
Everybody loves you.
But
Everybody's knocking at your door. And like I said, the ones that really have my back were my coaches. I'm thankful for my village, my coaches for believing in me, and giving me that extra belief, that I was still that guy.
Absolutely. And obviously, when you went to Bethune-Cookman, it was a different environment. It was a HBCU, and unfortunately, in inner city, programs across the nation, a lot of HBCU programs aren't as advertised as much as other schools, right?
Well, I would, in contrary, Miguel Melendez did a great job as treating us like Power 5 athletes. He spoiled us. We got the best of the best. We won at Bethune. We were the best team. Like, we were the program there. Awesome. And everybody knew that. He treated us like that. The staff treated us like that. Administration as well.
Right.
So I had a great experience at Bethune-Cookman. I got to be honest.
That's all.
We were in the regional. We won the MEAC. Obviously tournament. Champions. And then having a regional appearance every year was big. We put ourselves in a good position, and he treated us like that. Miguel Melendez was really that guy, man. He did a great job at that program.
That's dope. And obviously, there was a great coach. I know that you joined Kappa Alpha Psi as well at Bethune-Cookman. You joined the Brotherhood. How was it being a part of that chapter?
Oh man, that was another challenge in my life. Something I don't regret doing. It was phenomenal. The Brotherhood is definitely something real special, but it taught me a lot about myself and how to really push through hard times and bust through that adversity.
Absolutely.
Definitely got me ready for life.
Dope. That's awesome, man. And I wanted to touch on legacy. When I graduated from Point Park University in Pittsburgh, I took a lot of pride in how my coaches, my teammates, and how faculty perceived me. Right. So, can you kind of please stress the importance of leaving a positive mark on anybody that you touch?
Yeah, you never know who you're gonna run across. What opportunities could lie ahead. I tell my guys to be the people's champ. You never know, just opening a door, being kind and generous to a person that could lead to, a new avenue for you. A lot of guys you're going to play with or come encounter with, in school or, just volunteer events. Those guys may be CEOs one day, and they be, top managers, but they could remember that one impact you had on your life, on their life, and, that could be an opportunity waiting ahead for you.
Absolutely. And, a lot of people might not know, but, one of the first programs you ever started out here in New York City was at Abraham Lincoln High School, and I, had the privilege of being one of those guys that you trained.
That was the first.
And, when it comes to emotional intelligence, right, dude, one thing I really appreciated was, anything that you was, possibly going through in your personal life, you never took it out on us, you know what I'm saying? And I feel like a lot of athletes, really struggle with the emotional intelligence aspect.
Well, that's how we were taught, growing up, that ball field was our sanctuary. Mm-hmm. You could be dealing with a lot of stuff. You could be dealing with a failed test, a girlfriend could be breaking up with you, or, you could be having a beef with your boy. It doesn't matter. The minute you step on that field and get in between those lines, none of that matters.
For sure.
And our coaches stressed that, harped that, upon us. So it was that was my way of just letting loose and being me.
Absolutely. And not reacting off emotion, right?
Right. So now, I'm not playing ball no more, but I'm training. The minute I have a client in front of myself, I got to flip that switch.
Absolutely.
Whatever happens in my regular life, it's kind of irrelevant at that point. It's game time.
For sure.
I gotta go get that bag.
Right, absolutely. And when we talk about fatherhood, right? at the end of the day, Sky and Julian are counting on you, right?
Oh, big time.
So when I say emotional intelligence, it impacts every aspect of your life, right? So if you're walking down the block and somebody say something slick to you, you might, 10 years ago, you might have reacted off emotion, right? But you know that there's a family that is expecting you to come home to them, right? So, I think a lot of young people, especially when they get to college, just understand that it's so much bigger than you, right? At the end of the day, your family didn't send you out there, for you to embarrass them, right?
Absolutely.
So sometimes you do gotta bite your tongue, and I think even in between the lines, right, on that baseball field, how you carry yourself is everything.
Honestly, best way to go about that, if you're, let your actions do the talking.
Absolutely.
You could be in the game, people be chirping. If you sit there and go 3 for 3 with 3 home runs, or 3 doubles, or do your thing, all that's irrelevant. They're trying to get your head, they're trying to throw you off. But you gotta be level-headed, very strong-minded, so you could not let none of that drive you off your path.
For sure. And I kind of wanted to talk a little bit more about CJ Turn 2 Fitness, right? Can you please tell our viewers, what type of people you're catering to, now compared to maybe 10 years ago when you trained?
Well, like I said, I cater to everybody. A lot of people think I'm just a baseball and football trainer, but I have a big autism following as well. I'm here for the community. I just want to bring the best out of people. It really doesn't matter whether you play baseball, football, basketball. If you're an athlete, I try to get the best out of my guys. I connect with them, and like I said, try to maximize their potential.
Yeah, and good things take time. Like, you weren't an overnight success. You've been at it for over 14 years now in New York City, am I right? Years. So, a lot of young kids kind of just think that this happened overnight.
Nah, it's a journey. You gotta earn people's trust. You gotta get proof of concept. And thankfully, a lot of my kids have been able to do some great things along the way.
For sure. And, I feel like, me personally, I feel like you have this special ability, of connecting with people as well. Like, when I was in high school, I was actually excited to come and train with you. Like, it didn't feel like a punishment.
That's part of the process. My coaches were able to get through to me, and that was one thing, if you could earn somebody's trust, they're willing to listen and, execute what you got to tell them. For
sure. And, maybe some guys might not, tell you when they come back, in the off season, but it definitely makes you stand out. Like, when I was in college, like, during those winter workouts, I would stand out. Like, I was accustomed to those ladder drills, that dynamic stretching, the band work. Like, not everybody knows how to train. And before I met you, I wouldn't say I really had it. I trained, I didn't know, how to train. Like, we'll go out there in the summer, and ball out. But in terms of taking care of our bodies and trying to develop into a dynamic athlete, I didn't know what that meant. So I appreciate all the time that you invested in me. And, I think that it's so much bigger than sports, right? Like, there might be things that your athletes will tell you that they don't feel comfortable telling their parents, right?
Absolutely.
So I think mentorship is huge, and gratitude. A lot of guys might not, come back and thank you enough, but, you definitely played a major role, man, in the success of a lot of, guys out here in the city, man. And you genuinely wanted to help. I think that, all you asked for was, man, guys that were committed, disciplined, and wanted to be here. I think that you were interested in training the guy that had to take 2 buses in a train to get here, or the kid that had to catch a ride from a parent to get here. I don't think, you were really interested in the kid that had all the excuses in the world to why they couldn't make it to practice today or to train with you. And you wanted to train with, kids that were hungry, you understand? So tell me about the guys that you train on a daily here, man.
Like you said, I guess you could say I'm from a community. I have a lot of inner city kids. I have kids from all, demographics, all different kinds of backgrounds. But, like I said, I'm more for the inner city kids. I like those kids. I like to give them an opportunity to train like those that are privileged,
right.
And give them a taste of what it feels like to be at the next level and train,
For sure.
A high caliber trainer that's had a lot of experience, Like I said, I have great proof of concept out of my guys that are professionals, and I want my guys working on the way up to have that same love and respect.
For sure. And would you say, CJ, that like when you grew up playing ball in Miami, you were one of those kids that you were just out there grinding on your own, like you weren't really accustomed to like, mom and dad driving you to games or practice, like.
Yeah, we had to figure it out. I started driving early, so by the time we were 15, 16, we were getting to where we get to. But like I said, my mom did a great job, setting that up where I was able to get to, my destinations where I could, create those opportunities.
That's awesome, man. And CJ, obviously you do a great job of, helping guys, play at major, Division I programs. And, what do you stress to these guys, before they head out, in the fall? What do you stress to them, when it comes to how they carry themselves when they get to that college campus?
I mean, work hard and do the right things. It's easy for guys to go off path and, fall into temptation. Really try to keep your head level. If you got to think twice about something, don't do it. Try to live, by the right standards. It'll pay off in the long run. And like I said, be the people's champ.
Be the people's champ.
You could do that. You're always going to have an opportunity.
And when you say be the people's champ, it's not only with the coaching staff and your teammates.
Nah, man.
How you treat your professors.
Your professors, your classmates. Like I said, you never know who's going to run into you. And, this game may come to an end someday for some people. Some may make it to the ultimate, make it to the big leagues. But like you said, you never know who you're going to encounter that can have, an opportunity waiting for you later down the line.
Absolutely, for sure. And, you can have all the talent in the world. If people didn't enjoy playing with you and you didn't leave like a positive legacy,
right.
like, was it really all worth it? You know what I'm saying? And that impacts, if you become a future business owner, right? So, how has leveraging relationships helped you grow your business and your personal brand?
Oh, like you say, your net worth is your network, You put yourself in those situations with good people, good things will happen. You're around successful people, guys that, run successful businesses, it's going to be contagious.
Sure.
Put yourself around that environment, you're only going to thrive.
Absolutely. And, word gets around real quick. I'm sure that you was able to kind of build your clientele, super quickly, right?
Yeah, just doing the right things with people. Like I said, guys started getting success quick. There wasn't many people doing this when I first moved out here. And, I just stayed consistent. Stayed reliable, and I was able to build my, my financial freedom.
Absolutely. And, what would you say to those people out there that might have not given you the chance to, train their kids or maybe saw your vision, back in, 2011, 2012?
What do you mean, like
guys
that didn't trust in me and believe in me?
Yeah, maybe those parents that didn't see your vision at the time.
Honestly, I'm comfortable not being for everybody.
Got you.
Like I said, I have a wide demographic of high-end clientele, inner city kids. I train it all. I have pro athletes. I have kids that come out of shelters. It doesn't matter for me. I'm being honest. I'm comfortable with who I am and who I can help. If you want, my service and trust in me, I'm here for you.
Right.
Like I said, I'm not for everybody. I'm not trying to be for everybody, but I know I'm for my people, and they know who they are.
Absolutely. And obviously you talk to your guys, and, everybody had different, personal situations, right? Does it bother you? Do you take it home with you when you see a kid that, like you said, he might have came and trained with you, but this kid is actually staying out of shelter? Does that impact you sometimes? Like,
I mean, yeah. I mean, it definitely impacts me. It questions, a lot of things, and obviously makes me feel real thankful on what I'm doing and what I'm blessed with. But yeah, no, it definitely has a huge impact. And how they go about things. It makes me real grateful. Absolutely.
And CJ, what would you say to that young man that moved from Miami to New York City 14 years ago? Kind of seeking an opportunity to kind of take over the city and the personal, training community.
Talk to everybody. Talk to everybody, network with everybody. Show the work on time, not on time, be there early, and just be consistent. Show up, be consistent.
That's awesome.
You do that in New York City, you'll be all right.
For sure. CJ, thank you for your time.
No problem.
I appreciate the impact that you've made on my life and the life of, hundreds of athletes out here in New York City. And I'm proud of you, man. You built this empire, right? And it's only going to continue to grow, man.
Yeah, that's the goal, man. So, trying to take this thing, nationwide.
To the next level. Why not, right?
Yep.
Why not you?
That's what I said. I came out here not knowing one person, and everything I have at, right here in New York, I'm ready to take this thing on the road.
Why not? Make it happen, brother.
Let's do it.
Much love, bro.
Thank you, brother.
For sure.
Oh, boy.